blockchain in energy sector. So welcome to our another panel discussion on one of the hype and the current topics from the energy sector. So here we have with us our expert panelist, Dr. Akhil Damodaran, Cluster Head, School of Business, UPES, and Dr. Shambhu Sajith, Assistant Professor, UPES, from CCE UPES. So we'll start by discussing about how the blockchain is enabling the smooth functioning of this energy sector. I would like Dr. Akhil to start with our conversation.
Thanks for having me. So if I want to add how blockchain is going to help in a smooth function of energy sector, we have to also understand what blockchain exactly means here. So blockchain is nothing but a decentralized ledger in a nutshell. And the reason why blockchain has become very much not only hype, I would say, but really important part of the whole scenario is because it is completely decentralized. And apart from that, what happens is because every single part of the ledger is completely recorded and immutable, that is a major reason why blockchain has become a very important part of it. So every data which comes out in blockchain is recorded inside the ledger. When I say ledger is not a document. Ledger is like what you have a bank passbook. Now, why I say this definition? Now put it to the energy sector. Now, what happens is, now in energy sector, see, please understand, energy sector has always worked on scarce resources, be it even it was non-renewable or renewable. Even if it is solar, the expense of creating the infrastructure is much higher. Even if it is oil, from that sector, if the resources are much scarce, the cost is always expensive. I mean, from that side. So the utility and the way the consumptions have to be utilized has become the priority in the energy sector. I mean, how the total energy is produced, how it is utilized, and how much we can reduce the waste. Why I said these three pillars? Because that's where the blockchain actually comes in picture and really do the work. I mean, now imagine the fact that now you can create metrics on the consumption of energy. You can create a distribution record for the suppliers or supplying and distribution of energy. Apart from that, you can do grid allocation and grid distribution through blockchain. I mean, you can create tokenization by which what happens is let's say a particular company does a much better use of energy in terms of consumption and utilize well, they can give incentive. And apart from that, now you can, because of the blockchain being picture, you can actually see the complete consumption, who is doing what, and there's an extra energy can be distributed as a payment system by other people. I mean, that's exactly what grid in blockchain, the grid allocation is trying to do. So blockchain has a much bigger role in terms of how the energy is utilized, distributed, and consumed. I mean, that's how the whole three parts comes in picture. And apart from all that, it also provides a much higher level of traceability and transparency. I mean, you can trace the complete supply chain mechanism. I would say not supply chain, a complete chain or value chain of the whole energy distribution. Apart from that, it also provides a transparency. All the stakeholders can see how the energy is distributed, which will help in carbon credit system. I mean, in the sense how much the emission is happening, how much it is affecting the greenhouse gases, and the analytics also becomes much better because of it. So, I mean, blockchain has a much bigger role to play. But I also want to add to that sentence is, now blockchain is not part of hype cycle. It's there. It's already there, and the implementation already started. I would say other technology is still in the hype cycle because the use case still have to come. Blockchain is not in the hype cycle anymore. It's now there in the market. I mean, that's over to my next panelist.
I request you to take this conversation ahead.
Just to elaborate on Dr. Akhil Damodaran, whatever he said, absolutely right. Just want to tell you that how decentralized ledger is for blockchain. Same decentralization is happening for energy grids as well. We are looking at a one nation, one grid, that is all gone now. We are looking at micro grids right now. And every grid will be standalone grid going forward. There will be decentralized customers. There will be prosumers, in fact. So these customers who are producers who can sell their generated electricity back to the grid, and they can generate money out of it. So how do you tackle with such a complex problem? You need blockchain for that. If there is blockchain, whatever transaction is happening between the centralized, decentralized customers who are also the producers who are selling it back to the grid can also get the transparency in whatever transaction is happening in that particular area, one area. As rightly said by Dr. Akhil Damodaran, again, he has talked about the credit, carbon credit, which is an emerging market, which is the right way to go as well. This is the area where blockchain has the most important role to be played. So we don't know where exactly the carbon credit has to be given. Carbon pricing has to be set. Some countries are saying $4 per ton of carbon dioxide, metric ton of carbon dioxide emitted into the atmosphere. Some countries saying that $200 is the optimal level. How do you tackle with such differentiation in terms of prices? Carbon is carbon, whether that is emitted in China or whether that is emitted in Norway. It's all going into the atmosphere and causing global warming. So we need to have a system which will be centralized. At the same time, it will be systematic, whether that is Norway or Sweden or China or Hong Kong, any country whatsoever. So this is the most important area that blockchain can put its foot into. So it can stabilize the entire market, keep the carbon price stable for three segments, that is developed economies, middle economies or underdeveloped economies. So you can set prices based on the economic growth of each country is concerned and set a price accordingly. And blockchain can direct the businesses to charge for carbon pricing. The third area that I want to emphasize is that whether that is oil and gas, whether that is renewable energy which is intermittent, so wind doesn't blow all the time, sun doesn't shine all the time. How do you tackle with a complex problem? We need to know, we need to provide 100% electricity all the time. So whether that is in the evening or night or in the morning, we have to provide electricity. So if there is a breakage of electricity, obviously there will be complex problems that will be coming out of it, and the economic growth in a complex picture will be put into question. So blockchain can direct those consumers who are having abundance and direct it to those customers who wants the energy at that point of time. If I am having enough solar power plants and generating electricity more than what I really want, I can direct it to the customer who really need energy at that point of time. He doesn't have to burn coal or oil and gas to generate electricity. That means that we are moving into a system which can optimize the energy requirement and then utilize sustainable form of energy to meet our energy requirements. That is the third area that I'm talking about. The fourth area of blockchain is how to provide the optimum mining and rare earth materials that are needed for energy sector. So we need lithium, cobalt, manganese, rare earth materials, and all these are required for building solar panels and also wind turbines, magnets for wind turbines, and also storage facilities. So where do these rare earth materials and lithium and cobalt comes from? It comes from three different countries only. Lithium comes from the lithium triangle in South America, and we can see Congo is a leading contributor for cobalt, and rare earth materials are mostly from China. So when you have decentralized ledger like blockchain, we can identify where exactly the location. Artificial intelligence has always identified where exactly the reserves are. Now it's a role to how to mine it in a sustainable manner. We can mine the lithium deposits in Argentina without affecting their indigenous people and community, and also not polluting the water resources which obviously lithium deposits needs in the refining process. Rather, we can use blockchain to use that optimally and transport the electricity or transport the rare earth materials for generating electricity in a sustainable manner through the effective maritime transportation that will be run on hydrogen. This is how an ideal situation has to work out. So in a nutshell, what I like to tell you is that in every process, whether that is downstream, upstream or midstream, every stream has blockchain in it. if you are implementing blockchain in every stream, the entire process will be streamlined. At the same time, it will be sustainable, and the security factor, which is much needed for energy, will be made available.
Okay, I would really thank to both our panelists for giving such a head start to this discussion. Now, moving ahead, the energy sector and the blockchain, both are very different areas. So, I would like to and request our both panelists, and starting with Dr. Akhil, to illustrate like what are the benefits that we can actually enhance, or what are the benefits we can get from the blockchain technology in the energy sector.
So, if I want to say what is the benefit of blockchain for the energy sector, I would say the benefit is exactly same as what is the feature of blockchain is. I mean, that's how the relationship works out. So the first and foremost thing is, obviously because of blockchain, as I said, it is a ledger. So, and with immutability. So every single data, every single transaction is completely recorded and cannot be destroyed. First thing. Because of which there is a second feature comes in, which is called traceability. Now, when I said traceability is very, very crucial, because the money once is generated, or the energy source which is generated, or the carbon credit once is generated, from source to the next destination to the last mile where the whole transaction has happened, everything is completely traceable in a blockchain system. It really helps the regulator more than the producer. Producer may or may not be having advantage because of it, but the regulator really gets an advantage, that because they can exactly see what is the consumption, how much it is distributed, how much the money has been taken out. What Shambhu has already given a point to this, that the whole transaction becomes much more traceable. So because of which what happens is, you should also realize, energy sector is not completely a market driven. I mean, in the sense, the pricing is very much predominantly influenced by the regulator. Okay, because of which what happens is, because the consumption is now recorded, the traceability is recorded, the distribution center is recorded, the energy source is recorded, the pricing becomes much more accurate. For the regulator to decide whether the producer has charged the right price is very easy for the regulator to understand, okay, what the things have happened. Currently, the regulator has to call every supplier, every distributor and get the file, then audit it. There may be a lot of hidden facts which nobody knows. That can be reduced. Third, very, very crucial point which happens in blockchain is something called as smart contracts. And because of which you're binding the two or three people together, in the sense here, if you look the grid manufacturer to the grid distributor, or the energy distributor, or the regulator, everybody can be binded into a single agreement. And because of which what happens is, the complete transaction cannot be done unless all three of them are in consensus. And that is a very, very crucial point when the system is much larger. Like what he said, you have 3 different countries from that you are taking the source right now. Every country has a different system. I'm not talking about the IT system, I'm talking about the regulatory system, the political system, everything around it. So tracing, getting the right product, right price from the place, and then giving the right return to them it's very tough for a monitoring person to do the monitoring. But because smart contract, what happens is, you're actually making sure that they all are in the same consensus, and because of consensus, what happens is, you're getting much more transparent price, better returns, everybody is the same consensus, nobody feels that the information is hidden from anywhere else, and the system automates itself. So what happens is, nobody has a problem with that. Apart from that's smart contract. Apart from that, you can right now the biggest role of blockchain in energy sector is, because of blockchain, you are able to incentivize the people for less emission of carbon, let's say, the carbon credit system, or even distribution of the energy which is saved or not utilized, like what he said about the from distributing to the consumer who may be needing it at that particular time. You can do that. And payment system, the best part of it, because of the blockchain, not only you're creating records, not only you're incentivizing, is the best payment system in this world right now, where banks cannot be, no need to involvement of a bank, and because of which the payment and the credit and incentive can be collaborated together, which is very, very, very tough in a banking system. In a banking system, to collaborate all of them, it's a tough job. It's not possible. Right now, that has become very easy for the blockchain part of it. And because of which, I think Germany and I think mainly Germany and Italy, I think they have already created the grid which incentivizes the producers when they are able to save the energy and distribute it to the people who are actually in need. In India, there's a concept called Gyan Vahini. I don't know whether people know it. There's a concept called Gyan Vahini, which is distributing the energy from the grid through blockchain. It's still a concept, but it's already there in the net if you can check it out. They are exactly trying to use the same technology, that how can we make sure all the producers can come together, okay, come together, and they can utilize each other's grid when they are in need by bidding for the bid at that particular time. Right? For example, they need grid for 1 hour, or somebody need for 2 hours. So you can create more producers who you may not even have the grid for them, but they can help you to distribute the grid, the power from the grid to different channels. I mean, that's how the whole blockchain system is working. So the blockchain's feature is the application of energy, the blockchain energy system is exactly the same as the feature of blockchain exactly is. And now the whole point is how much you can actually deploy it on ground. I mean, it's all fine to say, but how can you deploy on ground? That's the most important. Over to Shambhu, he has more points to say. I know 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, as rightly said by Dr. Akhil, peer-to-peer trading will be very fast-tracked in terms of blockchain adoption in the energy sector. So, the curtailment of energy is it's very dangerous. That means that we are producing electricity for no use. We are transporting electricity, on the way we are losing some energy, that is transmission losses. But having more energy in the grid is as dangerous as curtailment. So now we are entering a phase where everybody is having solar panels. So how do you optimize such a situation? Like everybody having enough energy and not having enough storage facility, that means that there is more energy in the grid and that can destroy the grid. So blockchain can optimize this entire scenario, directing solar panels first, because solar panels are the cheapest form of energy, running at 2 rupees per kilowatt compared to 8 rupees per kilowatt for offshore wind energy. So hydropower comes somewhere between these two. So we need to understand that we need to give the cheapest form of energy when it is abundant. And only 18% of the electricity is received through solar panels because of its capacity factor at 18%. Hydropower has a capacity factor around 75%, gas has around 60%, offshore wind has around 35 to 40%, onshore wind has around 24%. So we need to understand that which one has to go into the grid and reach the customer at what price. That is one area. If you are having abundance of energy from solar panels, you can charge the customer with a cheaper rate. Then if the customer is demanding for more energy at the times when the solar panels are not available, then you can direct towards onshore wind, which is much more cheaper, a little more cheaper compared to offshore wind energy. And if then onshore wind energy is not available, then you can switch to offshore wind energy, which is relatively very expensive. That way you can identify the customer based on his consumption pattern. You can give the prices based on the time of the hour. That is something that blockchain really can enable the industry to do. Another aspect is the regulatory factors, because there are multiple stakeholders involved in it, whether that is oil and gas, whether that is real estate, renewable energy, or of course the real estate that is required for renewable energy. That is also a factor which is adopted by blockchain in the of the present. So we are looking at oil and gas sector, which is from the exploration all the way to distribution to the final consumption. There are multiple stakeholders involved in it. How do you identify these stakeholders and how do you implement a pattern which can enable the smooth supply of energy that blockchain can really do? And it can be a safe, it can be secure, and it can be transparent as well. So we don't want the energy to be misused, like what is happening in Niger Delta. So people are using theft to extract energy from Niger Delta, and without any regulatory factors put into that place, so that there is theft on a regular basis. If you are having blockchain, then you can identify where exactly the theft is happening and you can find a solution to that. Second area is that we were talking about the critical materials and all those required for building renewable energy technologies. That is going to be on the higher side because of its not so abundant distribution around the globe. Another aspect that blockchain can play is the battery area. The recycling, decommissioning of all these renewable energy technologies, including battery, can be done through blockchain technologies. So blockchain can understand how much energy is going into one particular battery. If it is lithium ion battery, how much is the amount of time needed to recycle that, and how to optimize the recycling process. So because the materials which are required for lithium ion batteries are not so abundant, and we might run out of those materials largely because of the geopolitical issues that we are facing in Argentina or Chile or